going in with a bunch of crazed dogs.
My camera. How about them Giants? How about them Giants? How about them Giants?
Woo! What's happening, people? Welcome to another episode of Giants Rush, where we talk Giants football 50 weeks of the year. We got a whole bunch of things going on. Want to give a shout out, bang, and a happy birthday to Little Rush. Little Rush turned 17 today. I was at DMV for most of the day, and my man now has a driver's license. So pound out to Little Rush, who's, by the way, who is the original Jackson Dart fan, who has been rocking a powder blue number 2 jersey, for 3 years, right? So he is the originator there. We've got, this is going to shock everybody, but not only do I have Spartan Mike, but I've got Alex, who you guys have completely forgotten who he is. Well, he's back. He's been on a sabbatical, living as a monk somewhere in India. So he's back. Rookie camp is kind of wrapped up. So we got some stuff to talk about. And this is a defensive show. So if you're here to talk football, let's talk about defense. If you bring any offensive questions, we'll ask. But we want to definitely, basically spend some good time talking defense. Let's tell you one thing that I always like to say.
It's good to be the king.
It is good to be the king. So thanks. I hope you guys are having a great beginning of your week. Let's bring in Alex, who we have not seen in forever. So if you forget Alex, his got the best intro of all.
After that, shrimping was easy.
Dude, what's up?
What's going on? Good to be back, man.
Yeah, I'm giving you like a virtual hug, dude. Like I haven't seen you in so long.
Virtual hug back.
Exactly.
There you go.
So things are good, dude. Like you missed the draft and the draft coverage and the draft show. It's been crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, there's been so much that's kind of happened since all of that. I don't think I've been on since the end of the season, but had some life stuff happening, and we're good to be back though.
Yeah, without a doubt. Family comes first. So you got to get that out of the way, and make sure that that's in order. And now you got a little free time to talk some Giants. We're going to talk defense today, Alex. But because of so many cool things happen, don't just blurt it out. If you've got something if you've been waiting to talk about something, because down there in Texas, nobody wants to talk Giants football. So if you need to blurt it out, just blah. Just
okay. I can do that.
Let it happen. And then of course, Spartan Mike's here, and Spartan Mike went to the draft, so he can tell you a little bit about that. Yeah, so let's bring in.
This is Sparta.
Love that. What's up, dude?
Guys, what is going on? And Craig, let's remind the audience, we are not only New York Giants Rush, we are the initial producers of the New York Giants schedule. We were the first to break the news, the first to release it all.
Yes.
All right?
Because we do sometimes actually look, think about what we do. We're just trying to compete for your entertainment, right? We're in here mixing it up, giving you the best we can. 2 things that we do really well. One is we interview players, right? We interview players. We interview beat reporters. I think we do a great job of it, right? But once in a while, we sneak in some stuff that you don't think we can do. And this one is Spartan Mike back-to-back years. Now, last year, Spartan Mike had the schedule earlier. He might not have been first. This year, he was top 5 last year. This year, Spartan Mike was first. So if anyone's out there telling you about the schedule, we're getting a lot of nice props from a lot of nice folks out there. Spartan Mike did break the schedule before anybody else because of
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, just there's a source that we have, and we were fortunate to bring that to the people.
And we will bring it first to you next year, Giants fans. All right, so get ready. This is going to be an annual thing. Don't look any further than us to bring you the schedule. The reason we kind of made it a little bit nonchalant last year was because we were so dumbfounded we had it. We didn't know if it was legit, so we had to kind of test it. Well, the testing period of 2024 is over. Now it's legit.
It is true. We were like, holy bleep, we got this schedule here. Are we supposed to release this thing? Now we're like, just send that sucker out there.
Yet. I don't know if it's a lawsuit. I guess we'll find out, but not yet.
No, what are they
New York Giants Rush is an LLC, right, Craig? So you can't actually get your ass.
Yeah, you can tell by all the big sponsors rolling in. All right, well, let's do this, gentlemen. Couple things. We'll just start off with some housekeeping. Rookie mini camp wrapped up, gentlemen, which is super cool. We're seeing a lot of bonding, right? We're seeing a lot of bonding between Scatterboo, Carter, Dart. These guys seem to like each other, spend a lot of time in the press together, which is very cool, which is kind of rare, right? These guys usually they're going to compete. They hang out a little bit. We're seeing a lot of, or it could just be more media coverage, but they seem to genuinely get along. Carter, Dart, Scatterboo seem like they have a little something going on. So there's plenty to be excited about. But today, gentlemen, I just want to talk about defense. What's up, Mark? I see you in the room. I see you folks piling in. I want to talk about defense, right? Because there are some conversations around the league, players. There is some conversation with some people I've spoken to. There's some conversations amongst the beat reporters, and there's some conversations amongst the fans that the Giants could be a top 10 defense if everything unfolds like you think it can. So we're talking defense. And again, Alex, you got the go-ahead green light to just blurt out anything you want about something else that you've been dying to talk about, but I'm going to at least try to keep you guys, since it's my son's birthday, we're going to keep the show to an hour.
That's fair.
All right. So let's do this. Start with you, Spartan.
Yeah.
Biggest talk right now for the Giants defense, putting Carter aside for a second, right? Because definitely he is the focal point, but defensive backs have been an issue with the Giants for a while.
Yeah.
Right. We burned through them. Can never find that right one. I pounded the desk for Tay Banks. He was my guy, right? He was a number 1 pick out of Maryland. He had a nice year with Wink. Not great, but he had a nice year with Wink, Spartan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then Bowen comes in. He struggles with man. And he not only looks lost, right? He's never turning around and looking for the ball. So there's no interceptions. There's no passes being defended. He looks kind of disinterested to some point, right? Which is annoying to me because again, he was a nice player in Maryland, mixing it up, right? Was known as not much of a ball hawk, but definitely a hitter, a physical player. Seeing none of that right now, Spartan. So my question to you is, can he regain what we thought he would be? Is he that far off track right now? Is he, let's not even talk CB1, CB2. Just Spartan, what is Banks up against right now? How is he going to improve?
Yeah, so I mean, the first and foremost, how he's going to improve is he does have to improve his attitude, right? When we think about New York Giants and guys who are not performing up to what we expect, like Evan Neal, there seems to be an ability thing there that doesn't translate necessarily to the NFL, meaning it's a talent issue. I don't suspect that he's so severely flawed in terms of talent, Tay Banks. I feel like the system change last year bothered him, and he just didn't have the right mindset or attitude. You could also see it that he clearly had some sort of issue with the defensive secondary coach, which led to the secondaries coach termination, which does get me a little upset that I don't know whose side was really responsible for that, but I do suspect that it's Banks because you see the lack of effort on the field. I get a little frustrated when I watch that because, this guy's got the ability to play at the NFL level and he's going out there and he's not giving it his all. So the question kind of becomes, what's recoverable? Well, now that we have the secondary coach with Marquand Emanuel, I'm just interested to see what comes of Tay Banks, because clearly the guy is being tasked to try to find revival within his career. So I think it's going to take a united effort between Bowen, the D-back coach, as well as Banks, as to try to find, how he can be best suited within the defense. I do think he's a little bit limited in terms of his abilities playing man instead of zone. I definitely do.
Yeah.
But I've always said this. I don't really mind if he doesn't pan out to be a star cornerback one. Cornerback fall off beyond the top 15 picks really does start to take effect. And getting a late first, he was picked at 25. It's not that common. So I'm okay if he becomes a solid cornerback too. But obviously the goal is to make him a CB1 if possible. But it's going to start with him, and it's going to start with that attitude.
All right, that's a good segue then. So, Alex, everyone seems pretty excited about the signing of Adebo. Okay, so let me read you this. I just wrote some notes on Adebo, and I'm kind of familiar, but I don't get to watch a lot of Saints games. It's not like,
right,
hey, on Sunday if the Giants aren't playing, I'm watching the Saints.
I don't think Saints
let's be
fans
real,
watch a
Craig.
lot of
If
it
we
either.
get rocked, we're not watching extra football. I mean, I feel that when the Giants are playing poorly, right? I don't know if Alex, you feel this too, but I run out of steam a little bit.
Yeah, I just get sad, and it just makes me sad to be around it at that point.
Right.
You're like, all right, I'm done. All right, well, listen, here's what I can tell you, and Alex, I'll let you jump in here. So the Saints, believe it or not, traded with the Broncos in 2021 to get Adebo. They gave up not one, two third-round picks to get Adebo in the third round. He's had 10 interceptions over 4 seasons, right? He averages
7
around
in the last 2.
Yeah. He averages around 62 tackles a year. And he was brought here to play man because that's what he's been playing in New Orleans. He's been playing man, but he did play zone in college, and he went to Stanford. He's a smart kid. And he's still young. He's 25 years old. I mean, this isn't a 27-year-old guy who's on his second contract. So my question to you is, Spartan Mike just laid out a bunch of really good things that Banks has to do, starting with his attitude and wanting to be the CB1. Is he even going to have a chance, Alex? Because it sure feels like Adebo is coming in here to be cornerback 1.
I feel like Banks is going to come into the camp as CB1 just because you drafted him hoping that was what he was going to be. I do think that it's going to be a very healthy competition in camp. And I don't know. I feel like cornerback is probably the hardest position outside of quarterback to figure out in the entire league. Banks, this is year 3 he's going into. I don't know if necessarily like Mike was saying a career revival. And I know you were probably using that lightly, but his career's not done. He just had a bad season. There's such thing as a sophomore slump. So I feel like Banks is going to come in there now, maybe having another CB1 quality guy in there that's a vet that's kind of been around, that's had a couple more seasons in the league. Maybe they can kind of feed off of that. We were talking about the chemistry with the rookies. I kind of expect there to, good players also benefit other players. Our defensive line should do really well now, having so many guys that are so talented, being able to kind of help each other out with stuff like that. And I think Adebo and Banks are going to kind of go well with that. Hopefully, like Spartan was talking about, the adjustment and the mindset of Banks is, hey, let me learn from this older guy. Let me kind of make the corrections here. But I think that Banks is very, very capable of bouncing back. And maybe he won't be a number 1 corner in the league or anything like that. I don't expect him to be a complete island or anything like that. But I think that Banks is CB1 walking into it. And I think that it's his job to lose, which I kind of like.
Interesting. And I like that take too, because I wasn't even going to go there. Because I was thinking right away that Bowen was really disappointed with what Banks gave him. So they went out and signed a guy who was available to play man coverage, right? Because Banks
they did what we didn't do for quarterbacks for 6 years, where we were like, let's maybe get somebody that we can push him. And if it doesn't work, then we rotate him to CB2 or 3, and then Adebo takes over as CB1.
You're telling me Drew Lock's not sufficient competition? Come on, Alex.
You know what? I tried to sell myself on that, but in hindsight, maybe not.
I think we all did, man.
One thing that I told you guys way back way back in July, it was very simple. Drew Lock sucks. I was telling you guys for months, and everyone was like, nope, give him a chance, but that's fine. However, from a defensive perspective, let's keep on topic.
Right.
So I like the fact that you think that Banks is going to be hungry and come in and compete for one. He could lose it, but it's still his job to lose. That's an interesting take because I was under the, I don't want to say impression, but Debo is a man corner, and he's got
yeah.
He is press man, hard press man coverage.
Yep.
Yeah.
And let's not fool anybody here, Spartan Mike. The dude is big. He's 6'1", 200 pounds. He is meant to be physical, right? And he's fast for a big dude. So my question to you, Spartan, is when push comes to shove, let's take Alex's scenario.
Sure.
What is Banks gonna have to do to actually win that gig?
He's going to have to fix his attitude first, and he's got to figure out within the next 4 months. Okay, not only can you learn to play man better, you really got to practice it and enable yourself to be better than Debo. Because at this point, I suspect, given how much Debo has established himself, that it wasn't just to hear some competition to kind of light a spark underneath Banks. I do suspect that they're losing confidence that Banks could be that guy. And I feel like if there's especially a sense of an attitude issue, that they're probably not going to want to like that. That's probably pushing them to address this a little bit sooner because they feel like they might not be able to work with him. What I can say about, a Debo is this. I mean, he was having a very good year and he's had a good career overall. But until his injury this past year, which was a femur, which he can recover from, he was playing very well in 2024. No, I want everyone to know two things about the Saints here, okay? They do a better job than us at letting talent walk. Hendrickson and Braun are two guys that immediately left the Saints on defense and start going to Pro Bowls on their next teams with the Bengals and with the Eagles, unfortunately. So keep that in mind with the Saints. The other thing is they're like, when teams get rid of these players that are pretty good, the question is always why. Well, the Saints have a mess of a cap situation, and if there's one position they're not too bad at, it's their entire secondary. So they kind of felt a little bit free to let Debo go. But I wouldn't be surprised if Debo makes the Pro Bowl. I think he is a Pro Bowl caliber player.
Wow. Okay, that's a hot take.
It might be a hot take. His one issue is this. This is a severe one in terms of when it goes into the games, but not necessarily with his actual play and how well he does against these players individually. He's very talented. He's the second most penalized defensive secondary player since 2021. And and look, if this is college where it's a 15-yard penalty for PI, I wouldn't really mind so much. But if it's, PI on a 50-yard pass, they're in the red zone. That's where the trouble starts. So that's the most worrying thing about Debo.
All right. And by the way, that's superb knowledge right there. That is something I didn't know, never even thought about it. So I'm definitely glad you brought to the table. Because here's my rub on Banks. What's up, Mark B? Here's my rub. The Giants have, our secondary has sucked for, and that's maybe a little harsh, but they have not been a good
They've
unit.
Been mid, right? They've just kind of been like, meh,
But even that, but they're kind of below mid though, Spartan, because they're not even they don't tackle well, right? We depend now. Safeties, we've had some decent safeties, whether you love Landon Collins or not, or you love we've had decent safeties that can. What's that, Alex?
McKinney, he was pretty.
Yeah,
good.
McKinney, right. We've had decent to good safeties. Well, we knew that was going to happen, right? The Giants weren't paying him $17 million. My issue is that we don't have a cornerback that can get an interception. When I watch Banks play, it's painful. I'm like, dude, turn your head around, turn your head around for the ball.
Right.
I mean, I'm a slow white dude who played corner in college and then moved over to safety. Still know to look at that guy right in the chops, and when his eyes get big when that ball's coming. Banks is absolutely clueless to when the ball's coming. He's always oh, the ball? What's that? Where am I? Oh, this guy? I'm always amazed by his lack of awareness of the play. I mean, this guy has been covering wide receivers since he was probably 9. And I'm just like, I don't get it. I don't get it. So for me, I'm looking for something refreshing out of a Debo. I mean, he's not an interception magnet.
But he gets interceptions, though. He does.
Yeah, as long as you have some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
And
got
mind
10
you,
picks.
man coverage cornerbacks actually tend to get a little bit less because, we went from a wing system where it was mostly zone, and that can be frustrating because there's a lot of openings sometimes, but it generates a lot of turnovers. And we did have the second most turnover-heavy defense in the league in 2023, right? So that's where it was like, we would watch the wing defense, and we would kind of get gashed sometimes, but if we had a game where there were 4 turnovers, that would enable us to win the game, right? Whereas, you even think it's funny, you think back to Spags, we didn't really get a lot of turnovers from the secondary back then necessarily either, because that coverage scheme was a little bit more similar for the secondary, just the secondary, not the use of linebackers or anything, with what we have with Bowen right now. So if we could just get a few interceptions a year from our cornerback that's playing man coverage, that'd be really good.
What's up, Daniel? And Rob is talking about Bowen's coaches, the secondary to read the QB's eyes and zone. See, here's the thing, Rob. I can acknowledge that as a potential scenario that's happening, but Banks does it. But even if that is the case, he just looks unathletic. Like there's a point where your athleticism takes over and you make a play. He just looks lost, regardless of what he's reading. He's got no feel for the game. He's consistently like step behind. He's in the wrong place. And they're just throwing dimes at him because he's like flailing around and they're throwing. I'm like, dude, just whip your head around. Turn back and look for the ball. Maybe you knock it down. Maybe the pass is underthrown. Maybe you get an interception. Like the athleticism, Rob, is just like it. I don't know where it went. I just don't know where it went. It actually made me feel like he must have covered a bunch of chumps playing for Maryland, because I'm like, this dude can't cover. So I am. What's up, JT? I am very excited about it, Debo. Alex, my question to you is: look, they're both going to be on the field at the same time. Right. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think you're going to say Banks, but Spartan says it's attitude. I lean on the fact that, that he got his coach fired. So I'm hoping they're going to coach him up. Who do you think, if you think Banks starts at CB1 in the beginning of the year and it's his job to lose, who in your gut, who is CB1 midseason?
I think if Banks wins the job going into the season, I think he keeps it.
Okay.
I think he keeps it. And I do think
shot in the dark, or you just think he's got a rebound?
No, I think he's gonna rebound. I think he could he had a sophomore slump again. He was learning a new system. Yeah, he had some issues that I think you could fix. But also, like, Trey Hawkins isn't helping coach him up as a teammate. Now he's got a Debo that's also been there and done it. And so I think he's going to be the beneficiary of that too. And maybe a Debo does take over him, but I think he could turn into at least a solid CB2. And if he can do that, then I don't think we're complaining about any of this midseason, regardless of where they are.
I like that too, because they're going to push each other.
Right.
Yeah. That's what you're hoping for. Because now you have 2 guys that are competing. Like, he knew he was the best corner on the team last year, even though he might not be playing like it. Talent-wise, now you got somebody that's similar to you, or what you would think he would be. So I think that's going to challenge him and make him step up.
I think a Debo travels. I don't know if Banks usually doesn't travel, but it'll be interesting. Yes, I think they push each other. Yes, it could be where, 1 week a Debo is covering the number 1, right? 1 week it could be Banks. Maybe there's a mixture. I think the new DB coach has got his line, his work cut out for him, right? Because we know the last guy got fired because of how bad Banks was. So,
well, our whole secondary as a whole was not ideal.
No,
all season long. So it wasn't like we had a bunch of other studs out there and then Banks was just getting exposed time and time again. It just was like, you draft him where you draft him, you assume he's going to not be the weak link, and he was the weak link a lot of times.
Yeah, and it's funny. I do think that the Giants, I thought this secondary would be the most noticeably horrendous spot team the last 3 years in each season, and it tended to be an underwhelming unit. But they always had a bunch of scrubs and like guys that were not high draft picks, guys that were kind of patched together. And I don't want to say that they were good. They certainly weren't good. We all know that it wasn't a very well performing unit, but it was kind of odd in the fact that, well, look, I mean, they're playing okay considering like how like these guys were plucked off the street. That was the one thing I didn't really quite mind about the secondary at the time, where it's like I get it. We have patch. I would get more fed up with the guys that were drafted high and weren't panning out. And unfortunately, Banks is one of them.
Yeah, well, again, I pounded the table for the dude. Like I was like, we need Banks, gotta have Banks, draft Banks. So I'm gonna tell you, I am gonna admit something on Banks. Last year, and this probably is going to make me into a horrible make it sound like a horrible person, but I do want to admit this because when it came out, I was like, did he just say that? So in preseason, guys, and for everybody out there in Giant Rush land, the media team of the Giants do a really good job to make it fun, make it entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
They they interview these guys going on the field, off the field. They give them like trivia contests and, quotes of the day and all sorts of stuff like that. And then the players have some fun with it too. So last year, and maybe you remember this, one of the questions was, tell us something that that the fans don't know about you, right? So you know how they're coming off of practice, they're whooped after practice and they say funny stuff like, I love video games, or I'm a great cook, right? He's like, or someone's like, oh, I've never been fishing, whatever, right? They say like all crazy stuff. And Tay Banks comes and says, I love Twinkies. And from that moment on, I was like,
bust.
Oh, did he just say his secret is Twinkies? Because that's not a good sign from one of the guys that's supposed to be the most athletic on the team. I was like, I hope he's kidding, but I don't think he's kidding. You know what I mean? Like, so I will say,
maybe he really likes Twinkies. Like Twinkies rock. To be fair,
Twinkies, Craig.
Yeah. Well, but
maybe nobody knew that about him.
Maybe. But I was thinking
that he likes Twinkies unless he states it.
And now I know that. And so when I get to watch a game with a friend, I'll be like, hey, that guy really likes Twinkies.
Right.
Tay Banks. He not only can he pick the ball off now, but he also enjoys a Twinkie from
exactly.
time.
Twinkies, Craig.
It's a good spin by both of you, because I was like literally like red flag. What is going on right now? And it shocked me actually that he said it, because I was like, man, I hope that's a joke. And then he played like ass, and I'm like, that's because he ate
it was the Twinkies. It was downhill the moment he brought the
slowing
Twinkies
him down.
out.
Maybe.
All right, let's keep moving. Let's move on from the corners to which is like surprisingly one of my Marshawn Lynch did love Skittles, but Skittles
came after he was already balling out in that game in the playoffs.
Yeah, I was gonna say Marshawn Lynch was already like a freak in nature when the Skittles came out as his vice. I don't need the second year.
But when Tay has a resurgence this year, like I'm buying some Twinkie stock for sure.
Or this year he says like chicken and rice. You know what I'm saying?
No, I want him to stay Twinkies, and then like we can just see him scarfing down one like Mark Sanchez did with the hot dog. We'll have a video of that and a blowout win when he's resting up.
You know what? We're having a Twinkie party when Tay Banks goes off this year.
Party.
Yep, hands down. All right, let's move on to one of the guys I'm most excited about, but I need you guys to tell me why this guy makes a difference, and that's Devon Holland. I mean, you bring in a guy from Miami who he replaces Jason Pinnock. Jason Pinnock he did not have a great year last year. Holland has a lot of really great tools. If you look at their stats, Holland definitely has, more interceptions. Pinnock had more tackles, but he took bad angles to the ball. He helped, we gave up a lot of first downs with Pinnock in there. Spartan, what's your take on Holland? Because I just like the guy. Like he just seems like an exciting player. Seems like he wants to be here. And when you see him interviewed, he said, when the Giants called his agent and said, "Hey, would you be interested?" He was like out the door to get get on a plane because he was like, yeah, just do it, let's go. Like he wants to be here.
Wants
I
New
don't
York,
even,
man.
yeah. So
You
what's
know?
your thought? What's your thought on Holland? Because I really like the dude.
Yeah, so in 2021, 2022, and really through his injury in 23, you could argue that he was, a player that was certainly Pro Bowl caliber or one of the top safeties in the league. He was of that caliber, really top 10. He can definitely penetrate that class. When he got hurt in 2023 on the MetLife turf, welcome back. He came back after that year in 24, and he didn't play as good, which is common for a first year back from injury. But I still don't think that is going to leave a permanent scar, meaning he can't recover and be who he was prior to that injury. And so that's why, when we talk about Holland, he probably has the most potential to reach that class and to be what Xavier McKinney was to the Packers in terms of the deliverables for what he brings to the Giants, because he did play at that level at one point. I don't think he's completely lost a step. He got back into the swing of things last year, and he'll be, I actually expect him to be a top contributor to the Giants this year for sure. I'm very confident he can hold down the safety position. We don't have a hole there.
And this is why Spartan gets paid the big bucks.
This is Sparta!
This and schedule varies.
He basically just told you that the Giants could potentially have a Pro Bowler, at corner and safety, all in the first 6 minutes, the first 20 minutes of the show. And you know what?
Cool.
I'm kind of like Alex. Like, can you imagine the Giants having a Pro Bowl safety? Like, that's like unheard of. I mean, I think Landon Collins made the Pro Bowl once.
But if we get 2 Pro Bowl secondary guys, like we're gonna probably be pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, Craig, think about it. Cornerback is. I mean, Webster was pretty good, but like cornerback's never quite been like the bread and butter of the Giants.
No,
right? Even back in the 80s, always good, never elite.
I could give you a list of guys from when I was little, from Will Allen and Peterson, and though Mark Collins was a hitter, and Corey Webster, all these guys over the years. We've never had stellar corners. We've had some good safeties for through the 80s and the 90s. We had some good safeties. And then
it's a front 7 team. I feel like that's how you chalk up the Giants' identity through the last 50 years.
Rob says he likes Holland and he hits like Sean Williams, which would be great. You know what I mean?
We got tough defenders with both him and Adebo, which, Craig, I mean, you're going to appreciate with the tackling problems.
Yeah, because the Giants, well, not just the Giants, the NFL has a tackling issue. What number is Holland going to wear? They gave him what, 8?
I have no idea.
I know he wore 8 in Miami. I think him and Nubin are going to have a great year together. I think those two are going to work really well together. Yeah. And I'm assuming that Nubin is the strong and Holland is the free, but I'm not 100% certain.
I would think so. I would think that's how it's going to work out. And there you go again. I mean, like having these guys improving the secondary improves the ability of everybody else to execute their own assignments.
Alex, any thought on Holland? Maybe even like what would it take for him to make a Pro Bowl?
To just be a badass out there. Like, I don't know. Mike sold me on everything he said, so I'm all in. I think I've really been feeling good about Nubin coming into this season too. So, like if you don't really know which way to go because both of those guys are being so dominant, we got a Debo already doing that. Banks is on a resurgence season, like a resurgence and revival, as we were saying earlier. Like we're going to be a pretty scary secondary if that all works out. Now we just got to hope that nobody gets injured.
Yeah. And by the way, that's it. Alex, I think the team is, if not the youngest, the second youngest team in the NFL. Think about the elder statement will be Holland, having played 4 years. Everybody's 4 years and under. It's a young team. So I'm excited about
the quarterback room. Really, we are pretty young all over.
Same. Yeah. Except the quarterback room. Yeah. I think they're the youngest team or they were last year. I think they're still hovering. I think Winston and Wilson kind of may push that up, as you said a little earlier. All right, let's talk about then. Okay, so Holland, Adebo, Banks, if they play well, this team looks really, really, really different. Then let's talk about the front. Let's talk about Dex. Are we better, Alex, than we were? Now, again, I know you weren't here to talk about draft and stuff, but we chatted up Alexander pretty heavy because we had on
you guys nailed and then y'all got the linemen too. Y'all nailed both of those picks.
Well,
Darius Alexander.
Yeah, because Alexander was someone, Alex, we had on
Bo
Dave.
on day 3. Yep. Bo, y'all nailed that too. Y'all were on fire. I watch, even if I'm not on. I watch. I pay attention.
All right. Well, listen, I need to know last. So Dexter is leading, the league in sacks at one point, then he gets hurt, and then we're doing patchwork. Are we better now up front, Alex? Because they signed Golston from the Cowboys.
Right.
They drafted Alexander. You got, of course, Dexter, who's the best D tackle in the league, right? Are they better is the question. Are they, because they can't leave Dex in there for, 85 snaps.
Well, I think that's exactly why we added some depth right there, like Golston and all of that, where you go in there and now Dex doesn't have to play as many snaps as he does, so you can get fresher legs. I think that now we can kind of sub in a lot, and that's the way that the league is really shifted to over the last 5-6 years, where you're having packages of bringing guys in and substitutions and stuff like that, or that NASCAR defense, whatever they're calling it. And I think that it's definitely going to be beneficial towards Dex going forward. And I mean, that kind of goes with our secondary. If we can cause some havoc up front, which with the guys that we've got ready to go this season, you would imagine we better, or somebody's going to be in a lot of trouble. And if we can cause some havoc up front, cause some quarterbacks to have to throw some balls they aren't ready to throw, then we're going to have that secondary may very well be going to Pro Bowls, like we were saying.
Spartan, Mark B wants to know about Manuel. If what are we hearing about Manuel? Because he liked Jerome Henderson, and we kind of lean on the fact that Banks got him fired, or he became the scapegoat basically. Because I liked Henderson too. The other side of the coin is we had to get better, and we weren't really getting much better. So here, I'll throw it up on the screen. Mark wants to know, what you might know about Manuel. What are you hearing about Manuel? What are you reading about Manuel?
Yeah, well, look, you might appreciate this track record, okay? So Manuel, first of all, played as a defensive back in the 2000s for a few different teams, but he played from 2002 until 2009, right? Then we want to talk about his coaching career. He started out with the Seahawks with their Legion of Boom, all right? He was an assistant there under Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator, right? So he's learned from probably the best secondary coaching unit there ever was, because that was one of the best secondaries that ever existed.
One of the best defenses entirely.
Right. So he knows what a good secondary looks like, and he knows how to develop good secondary players. Remember, Richard Sherman himself, was a 5th-round pick, right? So this is what we want to look for. Fast forward, he goes with Quinn over to the Falcons. He was a defensive coordinator there. Unfortunately, that his defensive coordinator role started after the decline of the Falcons. So, he just got wrapped up in the general firings. He was also a secondary coach with the Jets for the last few years. And if there's one area where the Jets weren't really that bad at, and they were actually pretty good, was their secondary. So I think the Giants, were looking for it in the offseason, hey, who could we get that could be a true upgrade here at DB? And I don't know if it took money, whatever the case might be, but obviously, he wasn't going to go back to the Jets. So they went with him because, in my view, he was the most attractive option just based on his resume and experience.
I think also too, guys, it's a fresh coat of paint, because, sometimes you just need to turn the page and try something different, right? Because we can't afford, as Alex alluded to earlier, he's leaning on that it's Banks' job to lose. If you're not being pressed, if you're not being taught something new, if the expectations are the same as they were last year, I don't know how much better he gets. So, Mark, I would expect Manuel to really push Banks, because otherwise Adebo is going to step in and win that job, and Banks is going to get pushed over. Remember, you got Phillips, who, by the way, just had LASIK surgery. That's been all over the news. He's one of the best slot corners in football. So, and you got Flott hanging around too. So if we really wanted to upgrade the position, we did it with players, but we also did it with coaching. Like turning the page is like Adebo won't know any better, right? It's going to be new to him.
Right.
But I think that Banks has got to say, wow, the expectations are different, right? Think about it. It's like getting a new manager, right? Or a new teammate. Like the expectations have to rise. Anything Banks did last year won't fly this year. Bad habits got to go, right? All those things. I mean, he can still eat the Twinkies. It's fine. But as long as he's eating less of them and he's in shape, I think Emanuel wants to show Bowen that he was the right pick, the right guy. They made the right choice. He's going to push Banks to play better. He's going to push Adebo, to be, great. So I think overall, Mark, it was a good move. And then, of course, you're sitting now on Newbin and Holland. Like from a secondary standpoint, this might be the best secondary we've had in a decade.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
This is the first time in 3 years I felt a little bit of confidence going into the season with the secondary. I certainly haven't felt this in any year.
Yeah. Rob throws
I was
up
terrified going into last season.
Rob says Manuel fits Bowen's scheme better. Lee Drew Boom was a cover 3 with a lot of press. And by the way, that was the reason they went and got Rob Adebo, because Debo, don't get me wrong, he played zone at Stanford, but Adebo plays man for the last 4 straight years. So Manuel fits it. Adebo fits it, so it's got to be better. It can't get much worse, right? So it's got to get better. And then, of course, if we're talking up front, Mark brings up the point about Brasillo, Joker Sean's favorite. Brasillo is going to really do some great work. Golston's a nice player. I'm expecting Alex, and again, I know you were jamming. I don't know how close you were watching the draft, but we had Dave on from our lads, who's a scout for the Senior Bowl, and he said Alexander's a beast, and and if the Giants had a chance to draft him, they would really love him. I think Alexander by midseason is a starter, or he might even win the job out of camp. This kid's big and strong and fast for a big kid. So up front, like, it's just going to be improved. This again. And I'll circle back. Spartan, can this team, what's it going to take, Spartan? You know what? No, let me start with you, Alex. Alex, what's it going to take? What are these, like, the 5 things that have to happen to be a top 10 D?
You have to have takeaways. You got to stop the run.
Okay.
Got to sack the quarterback.
Okay.
More takeaways.
Got it.
And then you got to create some scoring plays.
Yeah.
Got it. So one.
From the takeaways.
Right.
So 3 of those were takeaways.
Yep. And we've got with Holland, Adebo, right? Those guys take the ball away, right?
Right.
So that's an upgrade.
Right, look at the Vikings. The Vikings had a takeaway in every single game last year in the regular season, all but one, if not every single game. And the Vikings were like, what did that do for them? If you can kind of create havoc, you can cause the team to throw away a series that they were putting together. That's what the Vikings were able to do, and people didn't know how to handle them. And even though people said that the Vikings were a fluky team, that defense kept them in every single game.
Right.
If you have a defense like that, we have a better pass rush, I think, than they do. So if you can have any sort of success like they did, if we can have a turnover in 3/4 of the games, we're going to be a much better defense than we were this time last year.
Spartan pass rush. Right.
Well, I would have to think we're going to be again. You know me, I'm not a pressures guy, right.
But we got guys that can finish. Like, I gotta think that, as Alex alluded to, like, you're going to be able to sack the quarterback more than you were. Even though last year we started off like a house on fire before Dex got hurt.
Well, that's just it. I mean, and remember, this is the one thing that I want everybody to remember. We actually had more sacks as a defense than the Eagles did. And the Eagles defense last year gets, roses left and right. And I want everybody to know this. Our sack our sack rate on defense, meaning when the Giants are out there, what percentage of the time are they actually getting a sack on a play, was ranked 6th in the NFL. And that's with the fact that Dex got hurt halfway through the season. And that's with the fact that next to Dex, we had 2 guys that really weren't very good at all. So that's the one thing that's kind of incredible. We upgraded both those defensive tackle spots. You know, Alexander has a lot of upside, but Golston's decently established. I don't really know if, I'm certainly not right off the bat, will either of those guys be Pro Bowlers? That's not going to happen. But I do suspect that they're both solidified, can execute. And in Alexander's case, I mean, he's got a lot of upside, right? We're excited about a 4th-round pick, not because we stink and we're trying to force ourselves to, but because the defensive tackle draft stock last year was so good that we know we walked away with a good player because there were just so many different ones to choose from. And in the order of the teams that were going for defensive tackle, like we walked away with the gem here. So I definitely expect, and all this is going to depend on health, but I expect us to have a top 5 pass rush in the NFL.
So, and David, I'm throwing David's comment up here because you might have came in a little bit late. We talked about it a little bit earlier, starting off the 7:30 kickoff of the show. Like, yeah, we do think a Debo and a Holland are going to lead the secondary because, of course, a Debo plays man. Holland definitely has ability to pick the ball off, and that was a problem. We that's what we were alluding to, David. I don't want you to think I was ignoring your question. Was Manuel's going to hold these guys accountable? They're definitely more in line with how Bowen wants to play. And to Alex's point, which is a great point, guys, look at these teams. Ready? Last year, the Vikings led, as Alex just alluded to, led the league with 24 interceptions. 24, okay? And then the Texans had 19. The Packers had 17. The Steelers had 17. The Bills had 16. The Lions had 16. The Colts had 16. The Bengals had 15. The Broncos had 15.
All but 2 of them were playoff teams.
Yep. And that's, wait a minute. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, and the 10th is the Chargers. So 8 out of 10 of them are playoff teams, right? Like if you pick the ball off, you go to the playoffs. Is 1 and 1 equal 2? Not all the time.
No.
But
if you don't let them score and you have a better opportunity to score, then you are in a better position in every single game.
Right, because you're taking away their opportunity to score. You're enabling yourself to score, right? And if you get these turnovers like on the wrong side of the 52, I mean, that equals points.
Alex, I'm not a Tibbs guy, Alex. I'm not a Tibbs guy, but I don't hate Tibbs. I just think where he was drafted, I wanted him to be a game wrecker. Right. I wanted him to be Chris Jones. I wanted him to be TJ Watt. I wanted him to be, Aiden Hutchinson. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm alluding to. So like, I personally think that Tibbs, Alex, could become more of a situational player. What's up, Shin? I think he could be more of a 3rd down pass rusher, a 4th down pass rusher, and I think Carter winds up getting more snaps. So my question to you is, who gets, and don't just say it because my dumb ass said it, Alex, who gets more snaps in 2025, the rookie or the vet?
Assuming they're both healthy, obviously. I think like you draft Carter where you drafted Carter right now, because if you felt like Thibodeau was setting the world on fire, you probably go a different route. Maybe. I think that Carter's going to be the guy. And I think that this is going to open it up, because if not this year, then when for Thibodeau? Because this is really kind of a make or break. I know we picked up his option, but it's a do or die situation for Thibodeau. Like we've seen the flashes. Let's just be consistent about it. And now that you're not going to be expected to be the guy providing all of that, you can kind of fly under the radar, hopefully. He needs to step it up this season, make some sacks. I think he's going to not have the majority of the snaps. He's obviously going to get beat out by Carter to me, but I think this is maybe the best position for Thibodeau. Kind of like where Banks, you see somebody else that's talented like you, that you think is talented. This is like iron sharpens iron, and this is one of those situations where like, oh, Carter got a sack doing that. Okay, maybe I can try that. Oh, now I'm getting a sack too. All right, we're gonna rest guys here. Like Dex can take Dex. Why don't you sit the next series out? We got this, dude. Like we can create stuff like that, and with the pass rushers we have on this team, he has no excuse to not be able to deliver when given opportunities.
What I want to see him do, and Spartan, you could jump in here, is my big thing is with Tibbs is setting the edge and just literally just locking it down, forcing the backs inside, right? Or even like running down the back end of the line, getting a tackle from the back end. Just sometimes like he's spotty, right? Sometimes he's on, sometimes he's not, but he's not great at setting the edge. And then Olivier Vernon used to do this where he'd get 3 sacks in one game and then you wouldn't hear from him for 5 weeks, right? So, but I'm not killing Tibbs on his pass rushing ability because I do think he's gotten better there. I don't love the way he plays the run, right? I'd like to see him because he doesn't strike me as like a grinder, right? Like I see Abdul Carter, Penn State, East Coast guy, PA guy. I could see him being more of just, blowing stuff up off the edge. You know what I mean? Like, getting tackles, for a loss. You know what I mean? I could just see more activity with where he's from, the way he plays, and that would kick Tibbs Spartan to more of a pass rusher by specialty. They're down, 4th down. Yeah. So what's your thought on those two? Like, who gets more snaps? How do you see the year going for those two?
Look, I want to knock on wood. We don't want to, count any chickens before they hatch. But I mean, you look at Carter versus Tibbs even in college, and Carter is a better prospect coming out on the field. And generally, if you're drafted high as a defensive edge, and you're noted for your motor, it's going to translate really well. I mean, we're not just saying it because he went to Penn State, but he does play very similar to Micah Parsons, right? And that's kind of what the idea is here with Carter. He's a big dude. Pressure rate from each of those players in their final year of college. Abdul Carter is 19%. Tibbs, his senior year at Oregon, was 12%, right? So you would suspect that Carter just does a better job of actually getting into the backfield and wreaking havoc. I think with Tibbs, the issue is, and mind you, I'm certainly not out on Tibbs. Like you said, Craig, wish he was great. He's just good. He did get 11.5 sacks 2 years ago, and that does mean something. He doesn't have a dynamic set of tools to get to the quarterback. It always seems like it's got to be like that fast, pretty clear path around the tackle. And he is pretty quick, but if somebody gets a hand on him, he can get pushed around relatively easily. Whereas Carter can beat guys on the outside and beat guys on the inside and also be very effective in the run, right? So we have that dynamic. Look, you can't have enough pass rushers. Unfortunately, in this day and age, it might come to a contract issue with Tibbs, if he wants to get paid, right? I don't know what his contract could possibly look like. So I can see him not being on the team in the long run. But my expectation is Carter's going to go out there in camp, and they're just going to be like, look, there's no way we can't start this guy with more snaps than Tibbs at this point, just because of that deliverable that Carter offers and can make an impact right away.
So, David, I'm going to throw David's comment up here. David, your comments are very long, by the way. Do you think Burns will be a Pro Bowler this year? I think with Carter and some better DT play, he will get far more one-on-one chances to get a ton of sacks and pressures. So, what's interesting about David, about Burns? He's a gamer for me, right? Chris, if you watch this podcast, Chris, who's on here quite regular on Monday night, we call him Carb Crush. Him and I went to camp, and we saw Burns get all sorts of banged up, sitting on the sideline for like maybe a play or two, and bang. I was sitting next to Mark Bate. And we saw Burns get banged up and then just take a couple plays off and bang, he's right back in there. Like, they're different body styles, David, but Burns reminds me of Tuck. You know what I mean? Get the job done, play through pain, set the edge, be physical. If you fall down, get up and go make a play. So I don't even know if Burns will have the flashy numbers or not, but I don't care. You know what I mean? Like to me, he's just he's a really good player. I'm so glad the Giants have him. And you're right. He could have an opportunity because it's going to be hard to shut down Dex coming up through the middle. It's going to be hard when Alexander gets his feet wet. It's going to be hard to stop Carter and Tibbs if they're on the field at the same time, which, by the way, Bowen is not done yet. Alex alluded to NASCAR. If anybody doesn't know what NASCAR is, in those Spagnola defenses, he would take a D tackle off the field and he would put in 3 linebackers and a D tackle. because they were so fast. Like he had Kiwanuka, and he'd have Tuck, and he'd have Tollefson, and then he'd have OC, and then he'd have Tuck, and then they'd bring in JPP. Like he always had like a mixture of guys that were fast and big, not just big bodies. You could have a NASCAR with Tibbs, Carter, Dex, and Burns. It would be insane. It would be insane. So there's a lot of guys to play with. I think Tibbs has a place here. I'm glad they gave him, they picked up his option. Because
like, do you guys think about it at night? Like, I don't mean to cut you off, but like, I lay in bed and think about like, there's gonna be like a week 7 game where somebody has 2 O linemen out, and like they're just gonna be licking their chops. Like, all right, we're gonna just
like the Browns game last year, right?
Yeah,
just 9 sacks, and we're just feasting.
Like, you gotta hope we're gonna get a couple of those games, and that's just gonna we're gonna crush it. You hope without the backups in, but eventually, when somebody's not at full strength, like that is a game where we're just gonna have a 7-8 sack game. These guys are that good.
I want it to be Dallas so bad. I just want it to be. I just want to see like
you got to get to them. It's been 5 years since we beat them.
Remember like when like OC had like 9 sacks in one game, and he was going up against like Guy Wimper, and he was Alex. I sit there and I'm like, there's just, as you just alluded to,
stay healthy.
Just let it be Dallas. I just want to see Dak. I just want to see Dak just getting blown up, and then him getting antsy and throwing picks to Banks and to Adebo. Like, I just want it to be Dallas. Don't get me wrong. The schedule is evil, and they're going to have to ball out just to win 8 games. But man, if I am laying awake at night,
but what if
it was Dallas?
What if?
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, I just wanted to, listen, of all the teams, I just want to beat the snot out of somebody.
I kind of want to beat Philly right now. We need some street cred.
If we can sweep Philly and Dallas, that'd be sick.
Yeah, but you're not beating that. Like, you're not beating.
What if you just sack Jalen every time he drops back?
You're right. I mean, the Panthers almost beat him last year, Craig.
I know, but they still have the best offensive line in football. So I'm just trying to be conservative and say
the pass offensive line's not very good though. They're good. They're good at run blocking. They're really not that great at pass blocking.
And they never had to go against Abdul Carter.
Right. Craig, they haven't seen the daylights of this NASCAR package that we're hypothesizing.
I know.
It's a new time. It's a new time.
Maybe we start by beating Dallas and then work our way
up
to the Eagles.
Maybe we beat Philly the second time. What if we did that? We actually beat them in Philadelphia for the first time since I was in middle school.
Oh, they'd hate that. They'd hate it. That'd be so cool, though.
Right there. Beat Dallas. Let's start there. Right, Mark B? That's it. I just want to be, because have any of us ever seen Dak panic? We don't give Zach, he never gets any pressure from us. Like, I just want to see Dak freak out and get.
We beat him a week 1 game. There was a week 1 game. It was the Sunday night game, but I remember that like we beat the Cowboys because they couldn't get to the line on time because we threw Dak down and he didn't know what to do there. And
we beat his rookie year. We beat him twice, and we made the playoffs and they won the division that year. But we owned Dallas that year.
So it was a long time ago, but still.
Yeah, that was 2016.
All right, so can they be Alex? Can they be a top 10?
You were my age last time we beat Dallas twice, man.
No, we haven't beaten Dallas twice in 10 years.
You were 22 in 2016, and now you're 58, right? And the math
that math adds up.
58.
Yeah. You have to carry the remainder.
It's a young boy.
Thank you. Nobody over here is 58. Like, nobody. Okay. 1 to 10, Alex. What's the odds of the Giants being a top 10 defense?
I am going to be optimistic and go 7. I'm going to say Abdul Carter is going to be defensive rookie of the year. We've got 2 Pro Bowlers in the secondary already. Like, we're going to be good. We're going to be good. We're going to be good.
Defensive player of the year, DPOY on 5/19, Alex. Just writing it down so we can keep them receipts, because when you're right, my friend, when you're right, we're going to say you heard it here first.
the third overall pick being rookie or defensive rookie of the year. I don't know if that's like a
I
stretch,
so
but
do I sound like corny that I'm just really excited to see him wreck people?
right,
said what?
like
Wait, you
for
said
us,
what?
Yeah. Like
wreck people.
I just want to see
Oh,
like when you watch Chris Jones play, when you watch TJ Watt play, you're
Yeah.
like that dude's just getting there.
he's a
Right?
beast,
Like
man.
yeah, like and there's a couple dudes out there that are like beast mentality, but some of them just rise to the occasion, right? Like I just want to see like, man, that's really happening. Abdul Carter is everything they said he was. And I would be really super psyched about that.
I think
All
you
right,
will
so
be.
Spartan, Alex said he's going to say 70% chance the Giants could be a top 10 defense. What is your prediction for this Giants defense?
Oh, I don't know. Did we move on from our medical staff and our training staff? Because if we do that, it's guaranteeing we're going to be a top defense in the league.
No, we haven't moved on from any of those folks.
Well,
No,
then,
we have to-
unfortunately, everybody's going to be hurt by week 1. And
No,
the rest will be
don't
hurt by
say
week
it!
4.
Say that.
Don't say it. I have to turn your mic off, damn it.
Knock on wood. I have a wooden table right here. I'm knocking on wood. Craig, this team is 100. I can't even answer your question because I don't even know if it's the right question. This team is 100% capable of of going out there, giving it their best, and being a top defense. I think they for sure will be under those circumstances. But I need to see our health report come August. Otherwise, I can't feel it. But right now, like if all things go right, Craig, I am answering your question. Yes, we will. What are the odds?
60%, 70%?
I have to calculate our injury rate into the equation, but I'm going to give it a 70%.
Let's go.
Hang on. It's 70%.
It's a C minus. It's passing.
That's what I did, man. It worked out.
And here we are making the big bucks.
All right, so let me ask you this, Alex. Put you on the spot.
All right.
Who's the weak link on the defense? Who's the guy that's expendable? Who's the guy that plays and you're like, man, if we don't get it done, it's going to be because of this dude. What's up, Joseph Clark? Welcome in. Too bad you're late, brother. We're wrapping up. We start at 7:30, man. You got to come early, my man. But we're glad you're here, though.
I don't know why I thought that was so funny. My bad.
Yeah. Where, Alex, who's the weak link? I'm not killing you. Just who's the weak link? Who's the guy where you're like, man, that cat's got to go?
Got to go. Is Nunez still with us?
Yes.
Nacho? Yeah, I would guess him just because, like, the names, like, when you get to his name, when you're looking at our pass rush specifically, like, I like him. I just, like, he's going to be a depth guy now.
Right.
Spartan.
But I guess that's the question, right? If he's a depth guy, then we have to pick a starter, don't we, Craig?
So I would go.
Not necessarily because they package these guys, Spartan. These guys do get snaps. These do get like. Listen, Nunez he's like the starter until Golston or Alexander beats him.
Yeah.
He's like
right.
He's playing next to Dex, or if Dex comes out, Nunez again he goes in because we didn't get it actually after Dex got hurt. We got no production out of anybody. So I don't care if it's like again, there are no such thing as starters anymore. Everything's like packaged.
Alex, go ahead. I'm curious to hear.
Who's
the weak link? Who's the weak link?
Pick somebody that we interview so that it could be awkward next time.
I know. I didn't want to do that because it was going to be a linebacker, and I didn't want to say his name.
Do your thing. Do your thing. I mean,
I don't think it's the truth because I like him and I think he could be good. But like, if you're looking at who the possible weakest link was, I think Micah might be the weakest link.
Okay, Spartan.
So I actually, this is going to be controversial. If all things go right, say like the players that we need to step up and fill the shoes that we expect them to fill are playing well.
Yeah.
Then I could agree that it's going to be Micah. However, let me just be very clear. Micah is of a Rich Soybert level. He holds the fort down. I don't expect him to make Pro Bowl, but he's good, right? The weakest link is if Banks doesn't fix the issues that he has. Even if he's playing cornerback too, he's the worst player on that field right now.
Okay.
The only other
that's
one
a
is
good answer.
Yeah, the only other one is if we don't Darius Alexander's not quite ready for the league, and Golson's got the one side. It's probably that other defensive tackle spot. If it's not, if in that situation, but I am gonna say it. Banks not panning out is a major gap in the secondary.
Interesting. I look at it's funny. I look at it differently because I look at it took 18 years for someone to do what McFadden did. Two seasons back-to-back 100-yard tackles. If he was a weak link, he just wouldn't have done it. It hasn't been done in 18 years.
He's our weakest link, and he's that good. He's our weakest link, and he's that good. Obviously, we're not going to be bad now.
Again,
good.
My point is that like I don't think it's because again when you don't when what do you call it when Dex got hurt and then Bobby got hurt, McFadden moved over into Bobby's spot and played better.
Yeah.
Right. Sure. So I think it's like the weak link to me, believe it or not, like I've got three thoughts. My first thought is Flott, right? Because when they go to dime and they go to 6 DBs and they put them on the field, like I don't think Flott fits anymore with how good a Debo is going to be and how good Banks we hope is going to be. And I don't
to be fair, Craig, the fact that he's going from nickel to dime, though, that does give a little bit more reassurance. He's moving down the depth chart because you do have like Drew Phillips, which is very reassuring for that.
Drew Phillips he's got to be one of the best nickels in the game.
Probably the best pound for pound. Yeah. The guy who actually did their job the most that played all those games. Yeah.
Yeah. So Flott's the first one that sticks out to me. Like, I don't think he fits from a caliber of like when you look at a Debo and Phillips, right? And Banks. I think Flott's a little bit of the weak link. David said it could be Okereke, and listen, Okereke is a flat out stud if he's healthy.
That one may have been on Bowen. I mean, I feel like my biggest concern is Bowen's use of the linebackers. I don't know about you, Craig. I want to hear your thoughts.
Well, I think Okereke is a phenomenal player because he plays in pass coverage. He can, he shoots gaps. He's a leader. He got hurt and it was a back injury. When you get like a disc injury, like, you're playing half-assed, you can't play through the pain anymore, right? So, like, if he's healthy, like, I got no problem with McFadden. I got no problem with Okereke. I think Nacho is definitely someone that we need an upgrade over, which should be Alexander. I think it all comes back to Banks. I mean, like how I look at it, I really do think it comes back. Because here's the thing. Up front, Golston, Alexander, and Dex are going to keep the linebackers clean. Right? Okereke and McFadden should have even better years because we have a better up front. Carter should make our pass rush better. Burns is year number 2, so he'll have a year under his belt under the Bowen system, right?
Probably be a captain.
So realistically, I know Debo should come in and play great ball. I believe in Newbin. I mean, again, he's not McKinney, but I believe in Newbin. And I think Holland could be McKinney. A lot of similar skills. So it's really Banks. And I told you I pounded I think it's Banks and Nacho and Flott are the 3 guys that to me are on the outside looking in. Not bad players, but on the outside looking in. And Banks, with everything we talked about, you guys have convinced me, especially Alex, that he's going to have a bounce back year.
He's going to be fine, dude. He's going to be fine.
All right. I like it.
It's going to be good.
Joseph said that he thought that they could win 7 games. I have the floor 7. I have the ceiling at 9. But the beginning of the beginning of that schedule is brutal. They may go one.
I'll tell you what. Hey, having a defense helps. If you want to make some upsets, if you want to wreak some havoc for some of these better teams, you got to get to Mahomes. You got to get the Hurts. You got to get to these better quarterbacks, right? I think that's the one thing I love about the Giants. Like, if we had a better offense and a really weak defense, it's going to be really hard to cause some consternation in the schedule. But having that defense and being able to rattle these quarterbacks is going to help. There will be off weeks for the team. Everybody thinks that our wins are going to be Bears, Saints, Patriots, and I forget who the other crappy team is that we're playing this year. It's probably not. Unfortunately, we're probably going to lose 1 or 2 of those, and we'll win several of the games where, we might be Kansas City and be like, holy crap, we actually just did that.
If we're going to turn the corner, Spartan, you got to beat good teams.
Yeah.
Beating good teams is going to, on this team, since the offense is pretty, like steady on with better quarterback play.
we can beat the Chargers at home, given the defense and given the upgraded quarterback. We can win that game.
Yep.
You know,
Spartan, keep this in mind. We lost 4 or 5 games with bad quarterback play. We lost, I think, 7 or 8 games by 1 score, right? Between the kicker and the quarterback, right? They killed us. So now, it's again the New York Giants have an identity, and it's the defense.
Exactly.
So you're gonna
there's 2, 3, and 14 teams in this century for the Giants. There's 2017. There's 2024. I'll take the 2024 3 and 14 team over 2017 any day, because that team was in complete shambles. Washed their talent. We were lucky to win any game. You could see it. And if there was one bright spot, I mean, was it like we still had Eli back there, right? Whereas last year, I mean, that was probably one of the worst quarterback rooms we've ever had.
I like Born for Sports says, salute to the panel. Giants will beat Washington week 1. This defense is about to become a force. There is a lot of opportunity for this defense to step out and be the shining. Yeah, the shining
absolutely
spot.
be Washington.
Yeah. Quarterback room is much better, which I don't think you guys are going to appreciate until we get into week 6 or 7. And here's the thing, Joe Clark, I want to remind you that, remember, the first 2 games of the season are basically the extended preseason. So as a up-and-coming team, we're not like hitting the ground running week 1 and week 2. We hope it can happen, but nobody plays. Nobody plays in preseason. Like these guys don't get snaps, right?
I know, but should we really be? But shouldn't And I felt this too. Like other teams generally struggle week 1, 2. Even the better teams, like the Patriots, would always kind of open up pretty poorly for 4 weeks.
They
like
lose to Miami every week 1.
Yeah, we shouldn't lose 40-0, 28-3. Like we got to catch them a little bit too. We got to show some of that.
Alex, since you haven't been here, Alex, what's your projection on wins? You got something for me?
I'm gonna say we win 10 games, dude. We're gonna go back to the postseason.
He's on fire, hot take.
Oh, baby,
10 games, dude. If they win 10 games,
we just win 10 games. We just did it.
They can win 10 games.
What if?
They can do it.
What if?
There's
no laws against winning 10 games. You can win as many games as you can.
All right. Well, there's got to be some realism in there.
I mean, we can't win more than 17 in the regular season.
No.
Why not just win them all?
Miami probably.
Why not, Craig?
Miami will
that's
have
my goal. Win every game.
Miami will have a sniper on the roof, guys. Well, look, good topic, good conversation. Next week we'll do offense from front to back, and we can talk about how this vanilla offense may have surprised some people because of the quarterback play. Remember, we lost 4 or 5 games from quarterback play, the kicker play. We lost 8 games by 1.
We might need to do something about that kicker there, Craig. We might need an episode for that. I have a bad feeling.
It's a special teams episode.
Yeah.
All special teams.
And look, the
whole Giants' existence has been a special teams episode, Alex.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. We've been listen, 2 years ago, we didn't even have a punt returner. They went to camp with no punt returner. So they tried to make Eric Gray a punt returner. We keep telling everybody the guy can't return punts.
We just fair catch every punt ever. And whatever happened to that Platt Schooner guy? Whatever happened to that dude?
I don't know. Did Gunner? He ran it. Listen, Gunner ran a touchdown back and they caught him. They're like, later, we don't want to do that.
I know. I was kind of like, well, I think we could have probably kept him.
Yeah. It's all right. What he called did a nice job last year.
I wasn't watching the Giants the last 5 weeks, Craig. I have no idea who the hell you're talking about.
Stop it. Yes, you were. You were glued in. We'll see you guys next week. We'll talk offense only. Appreciate you guys. nygiantsrush.com. You got all sorts of stuff up there, articles up there, all the draft stuff.
And we release the schedule first.
Yes, and we release the schedule first, right? We are known as the schedule releasing podcast.
We are the leaky New York Giants rush.
Yep, and we do need you guys to subscribe to the YouTube channel. It helps us out, for the things that we do. I don't have any interviews right now. I've been trying to get Bobby O because McFadden said he would hook me up, so I'm still trying to get that to make that happen.
Yes, and we just called Mike McFadden the worst player on defense. I'm sure this will go over very smooth.
On a very good defense, though.
No, well, you guys said that.
Alex, we're never going to get Bobby O now.
Don't put me on that episode.
What do you call it? We had Ryan Dunleavy on last week. If you guys didn't watch it, go back to YouTube and watch it. He says so many good things that blew me away. Like, honestly, if you're
he
just
does not say good things.
Yeah, if you are he said so many good things last week, though. If you're fooling yourself, if you don't watch that interview, because it was one of the we've had him on for 4 years. It was one of the best interviews he's done with us in 4 years, because he just said like how encouraging it is in the building, how the building is a buzz, how like literally this feels and looks different than the last 6 years of Giants that he's been covering. So if you get a chance, go to the YouTube channel, check out the Ryan Dunleavy interview there. And then I think we'll have Jordan Renan coming up in a couple weeks too. So, and, keep rocking. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.
Later.